All right, good morning. Welcome, if there's anyone listening. If not, then as always, this is for me. My name's Frank. This is Premarket Wake Up. The community is called No More Paper Trading. I'm trying to build a community as organically as possible, which seems to be very hard to do. Part of it is my fault because I'm terrible at marketing, especially when I'm not going to make any direct money from it. And then the second part is more than half the internet now, I think, is bots and AI. So I have people in the Discord, but I'm pretty sure they're all bots or scammers of some sort. Well, scammers that haven't spoken up yet. The ones that try to post anything like that, I kick them out immediately. Maybe there are some people just waiting for the community to grow. I don't know. It's a Discord community. Links in the description if you happen to be watching this at a later date. In these streams, I like to go over the overnight moves and then going into the day, what key levels to look out for. And then I go into what news is going to come out today, what times to be aware of, and any other thoughts that seem to enter my head. I used to split up overnight moves with what I think going into the day, but I decided to change that because there's ideas that come to me when I overview the overnight that I often forget to bring up later. So I'm gonna try something new today. I'm gonna incorporate everything into one. There's no news right now as I go live, so let's move right on to the overnight. I will go over the ES, the NQ, the Russell, the Dow, gold, and oil. Starting with the ES, mostly flat or muted as the news people say. But as you can see, we mostly remained above yesterday's close. Yesterday was a down day. I couldn't trade yesterday. We tried dipping lower below the close, only to come right back. I already cheated and took a look at the VIX, and it seems to be trending a bit lower now. I don't know. I'm going to say going into today what to look for with the ES. I'm going to switch back between 5-minute chart and the daily chart. So this is the daily. That's the 5-minute. So on the daily, what I see is we continue to show bearish signs in the RSI. But I don't, again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, RSI does not seem to be a trend indicator, meaning you will get bear signals often during a bullish trend. Also, these lines, which I don't really care for them, all they point out is relative weakness. If price reaches the same area again, but yet strength is lower, then it points it out as a bear signal. It's pretty spot on, but it doesn't do it in real time, so you're not gonna, like right now, we should have a bearish signal. But it doesn't do it really in real time. I think it takes a couple days to apply. But as you can see in the past, all it meant was a short pullback. When I say short, I mean, 3-4 days, 2 days. So while we are getting that right now, I'm not certain that we're going to do a pullback. Simply because in the overnight, well, I guess today would be a good sign. It could go one of two ways. One way is that we're not going to pull back yet. That price is going to try to make another all-time high. If not today, then it will at least today remain above the close. The other scenario is that the market is waiting for the sentiment news today, which I don't know. It's been bad for how many weeks, and the market just keeps going higher. So I don't know how much it really matters. But I'm leaning on the side that we will not head lower than yesterday's low. And probably not even yesterday's close. If we do head lower, well, yesterday's low hit very close to previous month's high at around 67.56. In fact, we had multiple days hit pretty close to there. So if we do head lower, look for a possible stop around there. If we head higher, well then, yesterday's high. We have the normal trading hours open, and then the opening range high, and then the regular trading hours high, which is very close to the entire day yesterday's high. But they're also very close. I wouldn't particularly trade off of any of those unless I saw weakness. I would scalp off them, but I wouldn't trade longer term. All right, the NQ. The overnight in the NQ. A bit different than the ES in that we opened strong, remaining above the close. I would not call these pullbacks because they were pretty far away from the close. 5 a.m., some strange volume, followed by a large spike down. It's kind of strange timing. Usually it's at 4 when I forget what market closes are open, but an overseas market. In fact, I wonder which one does close or open at 5 or around 5 a.m. I started building an indicator that would show me that, but there's a lot of problems with the indicator. So Hong Kong closes at 4 a.m. That's why you often see volume pick up then. As far as I'm aware, nothing See, this is why I need to figure out all the problems with this indicator. As you can see right at the India close, we bounced back. I don't know if, correlation isn't causation, but it's something to be aware of. But right now, first of all, it's too crowded. The labels aren't in the right area. And I might remove some of them that are insignificant. But for now, let's get rid of it. All right, going into the day. On the daily, the Nasdaq looks like a bit stronger, not only yesterday, but in the overnight than the ES. Just for comparison, the ES yesterday retraced to the previous month's high, where the NQ retraced, I guess, an area of resistance near last Thursday's and Friday's high. It's kind of middle of nowhere. Looking at the 5-minute, you can see it easier. It was just a quick dip down to that level, which is not significant, at least by any of my key levels that I measure. But this area, right around here, that was last week's Thursday and Friday's high. But for today, if we do head lower, first of all, just like ES, I don't see, maybe the Nasdaq would head below last night's close or yesterday's close, but I don't see it heading lower than yesterday's low, which again, relatively is higher than the ES's yesterday's low, if you can follow. And if that really does mean anything, I often look at how they relate to each other. You can catch things sometimes. If we do head higher, we have yesterday's high, which is also was an all-time high. We didn't close at it, but it's significant. All right, the Russell in the 5-minute, mostly flat, but again staying strong above yesterday's opening range low. I always see tons of scalping opportunities in the overnight. If I could stay up, I would, and trade it. but I only ever get a section of it. Going into today, again, I don't see, I could be wrong, I could be very wrong. There might be a, straw that broke the camel's back coming soon. I personally don't see any reason for a bull market, but I just follow the candles. And the candles say bullish. But I don't see us going below yesterday's low. You can see this shelf that formed right there over this entire week. So if we do head lower, take a look at that as a stopping point. If we head higher, well, same kind of formation above us, as well as previous month's high to look out for. The Dow a bit non-correlated from the Russell. They were somewhat correlated for a couple weeks. Or maybe a couple days. Depends on your definition of correlated. But the overnight in the Dow remaining strong above yesterday's close. Again, you often see that. I wish I would have seen that yesterday. The fact that we recovered at the end of the day and then opened without going lower almost immediately. That's usually a sign that, again, slight probability that we won't break below the close, which we did not. We also did not break above last month's close. So that will be significant if we get up to there today. The Dow did not build, well, it did kind of build a shelf, but we're below it already. But if we fall lower, look at yesterday's low, and then beyond that is the current month low, which also is right where the P pivot point is. If we head higher, I would look for a bounce off of last month's close. All right, gold. I did not trade yesterday, so I did not notice that gold had a huge down day yesterday. Significant amount of volume too. I don't know if that was just profit taking. I would say that gold is very overextended, and I think a lot of traders would feel better if it pulled back to a more respectable level so other traders could get in. If you believe the narrative that gold's going to go to 5,000 before year end, or no, not year end, by next year. I'm not convinced, but I'm not convinced of anything. I think the major news players, they don't know anything. Economics is not a science. All right, specifically in the overnight, gold remained strong above yesterday's close. Almost correlated to the equities. Just strange. And then price stopped at the R1 pivot point. I would say if we head lower, definitely look at yesterday's close. Yesterday's low is so close that I wouldn't put my stop in between there. In fact, I probably wouldn't place a trade here at all. I don't know. I need more practice with gold before I place any more trades. All right, let's take a look at oil. Oil is at a great spot. I didn't even notice that. Again, I'm switching between the 5-minute and day chart. If you cannot see the little mark and the little tiny mark on the screen. Perhaps if I do get some regular viewers, I'll put like a transition or something in when I switch between the two. That'll just put a little 5-minute marker somewhere that's out of the way. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But oil right now, getting close to a past level where it rebounded slightly. Also a pivot point. This warrants further investigation. And I wonder what made it, between Wednesday and Thursday, what made it reject going higher than that level. Let's take a look at that. See, the old me would have jumped at this, placed a trade immediately. But after taking a couple crashes with oil, I'm a little bit more cautious now. That was on Wednesday and Thursday. So on Wednesday we came up to that area. Which at that time was the previous week's high. No, just the previous Wednesday's high. What else was significant about it? The 100 SMA was close, as well as the 50. That's the 100 and that's the 50. But again, it didn't touch it. And then when we came back a second time, again, not getting as close. I don't know. I don't know if I would have been convinced. That's how oil is misleading, because look at... So on Thursday, it came up to that level twice. The first time with bearish strength on the RSI compared to previous prices. And then the second time it came up towards it was right before the open on Thursday. And that time the strength was higher. So I don't know. I don't know if I would have noticed that until it was too late, until maybe it passed back below last month's close. I don't know. I'm open to learning more about oil, but right now I have to admit I know very little. But I will be watching to see if we hold above this pivot area. And I don't know where to place my profit target if we do hold above it. Yeah, I don't know. All right, let's take a look at the news for today. Okay. We got a Fed speech coming up soon. And then, of course, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, which, according to the news sites, that's what traders are waiting for, which I'm not so convinced. The last time... Wait, is that released weekly? I don't know how I don't know this. See, I usually just look at the news and try to avoid it, just for the sake of volatility. I don't really attempt to evaluate it. I might speculate a little bit, but I try not to incorporate it into my trading at all. I know it's not supposed to come out every week, but it seems like it does. I'm guessing comes out the second week of the month. That would make sense. But the last time it came out, it was quite low. But so much of this data is wrong, very often. And I don't know enough of it to know that apparently there are some organizations that release quite accurate data, but I don't know enough to know which ones do. Let's take a look again at this today. Yeah, another Fed speech at 1. I usually enjoy trading on Fridays because the volatility is a bit lower. Sometimes. Let's take a quick look at next week. As far as I know, the government's still shut down. Oh, that's right. I think it's a holiday. How did I forget that? Is it a market holiday? I don't think it is. Okay. Only bond markets will close. Alright, so only the bond market's closed, so I might like trading on Monday. There might be less volatility. An IMF meeting on Monday, I don't know what that means. Tuesday, Fed speech next week. More Fed speeches, of course. That's important. On Tuesday at 12:20, there'll be a speech by Powell. People will be paying close attention to that. But not much else Tuesday. Wednesday, CPI, which if that's government released, I don't think it'll come out. Yeah, it is government, so we'll see. Unless the government reopened, then I don't know. It's not like it affects me much. Alright, that's enough. Let's take a look at the headlines and the FedWatch tool to see likeliness of a rate cut. But still down from last week. I don't know what would change that. We're up even more for December, but still down from a week ago. Again, I don't know what would have influenced that. Let's take a quick look at the headlines and then I'm done for today. Back and forth, China and the US. Let's see what Investopedia says. 5 things to know before the stock market opens. Let's have a laugh. Okay, that's right. The Bureau of Labor Statistics will bring back employees in order to produce the report that the Fed needs, which is ridiculous because it's all wrong. Well, I don't know if it's wrong, but a lot of people say it's wrong. So what I said earlier is wrong. There will be news released next week. Nvidia is still making new highs. This other stock is making a new high on data center deals. Who cares? Levi's down. This isn't too bad. Stock futures inch higher. Yes, we knew that. Government to bring back furloughed workers. I knew that. Nvidia shares gaining after hitting new high. Applied Digital soars and Levi's down. So not much. Not much today. Seems like a great day to just sit back, do a little bit of scalping. I think I will do. I have tons of work. I'm working on changing a strategy I have for my long-term investments. Oh, I can share my trade this morning. I just did a quick scalp this morning. I should have held it longer, but what else is new? Yeah, I just entered a quick short as price was halting at yesterday's normal trading hours opening, yesterday's opening range high on the NQ. Also, price rejected this spot 2 other times. Also, I forgot to notice something earlier. We are trending down a little bit with lower highs and lower lows, somewhat. It's not very significant, but it's something. Alright, that's all I have for today. If there's anyone listening, thank you. Good luck. Goodbye.